Well, one thing I wanted to get your input is Assassin's Creed is obviously going through a couple releases, and they want to stagger the big releases of their large titles. And so, what they're sort of putting forth here is a strategy to remake old games. Everybody loves remakes, okay, and you will buy them. Here is my big thing here. If they remake Assassin's Creed Black Flag, will it do better than Skull and Bones? Go.
Unequivocally. Unequivocally. Because they have the bare bones from AC4, it's already there. As long as that remake uses the same engine, it will be incredible. The problem would be if they took that remake and remade it in the current Assassin's Creed engine, which has been creaking at the bones since Origins launched in 2017, which was not designed for the freedom of movement that Black Flag dictates it should have. Black Flag was built on the Anvil Next engine. So Anvil is what was AC1, 2, Brotherhood, Revs, and then AC3 and 4, so 4 being Black Flag, they were on the Anvil Next engine. Those two engines gave you such a wonderful freedom of movement. You could start running up a wall, flick your analog stick to the left, press X, and you would jump off that wall onto a pole, swing off that pole, grab onto a beam, launch yourself off that beam onto the roof to your right. It was a beautifully flowing parkour system, which is what gave these games the legs that they still have. It's why people still play them. If they are going to remake these games, you need to basically rebuild all of those assets from the ground up on that original engine. If they build it on the new engine, they will ruin the game, and it will end up being reviewed worse than Skull and Bones. Whether it sells worse than Skull and Bones is a different matter, but it would end up being reviewed worse if it doesn't play as well as the original. That is the challenge they face with these remakes.
Hey, well, it's a strategy they are going to implement nonetheless. Let's hope they do it right, as you were saying, and we'll wait to see. I heard, actually, that there is actually a petition to stop Assassin's Creed Shadows from release. Yeah, you've heard of this too?
I read
this
about
is
it
crazy,
yesterday.
right?
It is an offensive game to Japan.
No.
They've got basically everything wrong. So I kind of understand where they're coming from. They did all right with Syndicate. They did all right with Black Flag because Edward Kenway was a Brit as a privateer over in the Caribbean. They did terribly with Watch Dogs Legion. I actually really felt offended by that game as a Brit playing it. It's meant to be in London. It is so offensive. It is so stereotyped, and it basically feels like a personal attack on Brits, left, right, and centre. So having been on the receiving end of that for a culture that is not as rich as Japan's, I totally get where they are coming from. As of about 3 p.m. UK time yesterday, so that would be 10 a.m. Eastern time, there were 38,000 signatures on that petition, 13,000 of which had been added that day. There is a lot of distaste for this game in Japan. It might end up just being banned in Japan. The Japan Board of Certification might just straight up ban it, and that will not be good for Ubisoft to be banned in a country because of their cultural insensitivity. They have time to
when they were like,
few things.
This will be great for Japan. They'll love us for this game.
And it's Japan aren't adverse to having these games released about these eras, about these sort of characters. Look at Ghost of Tsushima. Look at Rise of the Ronin. Like they are quite happy to have these games launch, and Ghost of Tsushima has done so much good for Tsushima Island and Japan as a whole through tourism, through charity support, especially with the tornadoes that ravaged Tsushima Island not long after the actual release of the game. Fans raised like $70,000 to repair damages just because they enjoyed the game so much. So Japan and the Board of Tourism and the Cultural Board and all that, they're not against games being made and set in Japan, but Shadows is apparently crossing a line. So
here,
I have to step back from this. I'm not involved on either side of it, but I hate what Ubisoft have done to my series anyway. So yeah, go ahead, cancel it.
here's my one take on why this possibly may be coming. Ubisoft went forward with this game, and the Japanese cultural board was like, why were we not paid for a consulting fee on this game? Because if they were paid for a consulting fee on this game, they perhaps may not have put this petition forward. But that's just
not how Japan works. That's not how Japan works. They're not America, they're not Canada, they're not the UK. Money doesn't talk to Japan when it comes to culture. You adhere to it or you get the hell out. That's essentially how that works.
Well, I guess they were really upset when they saw the trailers, and they've acted out. So
I don't know whether it's the culture board that are promoting. It's going through them. The petition is being made to them because they sort of have the power to then do it. It's kind of shocking because Assassin's Creed has been one of those series that previously has been heralded for its historical accuracy, for its cultural sensitivity. But since sort of Odyssey, that's been out of the window. That they messed up a lot in Odyssey, which Greece weren't happy with. They messed up a lot in Valhalla, which I know some historians were fine with because it's such an undocumented era of history that you can sort of just make it up in British history for that one. But there's aspects that are really well known that they just took complete liberties with, and that sort of stamp of pride of historical accuracy has been lost recently, and now we're hearing this about Shadows. Again, I can't talk to Shadows. I'm not a historian. I'm not Japanese. I don't understand the outcry and the outpouring of disappointment at such a game and the want for it to be cancelled. I can understand their feelings, having played Legion, because of how that made me feel, but that's about as far as I go. So it seems like that badge of pride of historical and cultural accuracy is gone from the Assassin's Creed series now.
well, down with Ubisoft. Don't make a samurai game. That's our thing.
Also, allow people to play your games when they've bought them. Don't just remove them from their library. Oh, sorry, was that a different topic?